DBL Nation, we do have a very special guest with us today. This is Heidi Thomas. She was the first of 6 witnesses to testify against Cosby in his trial. Heidi, thank you so much for joining us. I can't even imagine what emotions you must be experiencing right now. If you were Judge O'Neill, what sentence would you give Bill Cosby? What are you hoping to hear?
Oh, what am I hoping to hear? Something that's fair. I know that everyone on Cosby's team is very concerned that he is 81 years old, that he is blind, and that prison would be an undue hardship. Okay. I know that he has been under house arrest, and I know that he's had parties and he's had his friends and his family around him ever since he has been found guilty. So I do think there needs to be some prison time. I think that's not only important for him to understand the severity of what has happened, but also it does send a message. And let's face it, this is the beginning of an avalanche of things that are going to be happening in the court system with all of the accusations that have come forward. So this has to send a message, and it has to be significant. It needs to say, no, 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 this will not be tolerated anymore.
How do you think you're going to feel if it's not the result that you want? We know that he's going to prison, but we don't know for how long. And some people are speculating it could be as little as a year. How would that make you feel?
Anything will be better than what I obviously expected 30 years ago. 3 years ago, I was asked, will you ever see him in a court? And I said, no, I don't think so. And then to have him found guilty and that there might actually be prison time, this is bigger than anything I ever thought would happen. So we're already past the point of where I personally thought we would be. I think now, though, the issue has become finally the issue it needed to be for years and years and years. And how will I feel? I will feel like it's better than nothing. And we have to start somewhere.
Heidi, you mentioned 30 years. 30 years you did not feel comfortable coming forward with your, so to speak, dark secret. Do you think if the Me Too movement was present back then that you would have been more encouraged to come forward?
Oh, absolutely. And that's the reason I went forward when I did. These incredibly brave women who finally said enough were the ones that were getting bashed, as we all know, and called names. And
well, we're seeing that right now with
absolutely,
Accuser.
It's happening again. It is, history is repeating itself, absolutely. And I know that the reason I went forward was not, as many people think, it's your 15 minutes of fame. Oh yeah, this is what we all want to be famous for. Okay. No, I came forward because I wanted those women to know I knew they were telling the truth. I knew it, and I had their back. That's why I went public, and I think that's what's happening now. Certainly with the second Kavanaugh accuser, she's come forward, my guess, I don't know her, my guess is to provide support for the other woman to say, no, she's telling the truth, and I know she is, and I'm going to back her.
There's so much power in someone coming forward, because I had my most cathartic moment during the Cosby verdict, and it made me get very brave and very honest about things that have happened in my life.
Good.
I just want to ask you, because you do have a daughter who is an adult, and she's about the same age as you were when this incident happened. And she's also in the entertainment industry. And I can think of advice my mom gave me and the reasons why now in hindsight she gave me that advice. What advice have you given to your daughter?
Well, first of all, I have 3 daughters, and we talked about it as each of them got to a point where I thought they were ready, willing, and able to understand what had happened. So I think somewhere 12, 13 years old, I had a private conversation with each of them. So they have known before the public ever knew. As far as the young lady who's in entertainment, when she started to believe that this was going to be her career, this had been part of her upbringing. She had known for years and years. I'd like to think, therefore, she went in with her eyes wide open. She certainly was a young adult when all of the morbid details started coming out.
Right.
And I think she is able to say, I don't like to have to be this cautious. I don't like to have to be this cynical. But I do know I have to watch my drink. And I do know I have to be on my guard. And she doesn't drink she has a glass of wine now and then. She doesn't do any form of substances because that's where people get into trouble the minute those get introduced.
I have to commend you. When I was watching the Cosby trial and you were on stand, so brave, so confident, Heidi, and you looked at Bill Cosby and you said, look me in the eyes. Look me in the eyes. Do you remember me? Do you remember me? What was that moment like? Because it brought tears to my eyes.
Thank you. Well, I'm going to correct you just a minute. I didn't look at him in the trial. I had said that was something I wanted to do. First of all, we now know the man is blind. So he can't look me in the eyes, and especially from over where he was sitting. It was interesting though, and I'm going to backtrack a little bit on your question. I was so focused on the idea that I could be the voice for so many women who never get this opportunity. That was my focus. And so I was all about, okay, please let me come across as articulate and sane, and I didn't want to look like a ditz. There was where my focus, and I was probably 10 or 15 minutes into my testimony before it occurred to me, oh, is he here? I guess he must be here. And I looked over to the left and oh, there he was. And then I was able to get focused back on my message. So I didn't really address him personally. I was able to say some rather dramatic things, and as far as calling him a serial rapist. You
did call him a serial rapist, and I believe the judge interjected.
I didn't know that was coming out. It just happened when the defense attorney had been doing what their job is, which is to pester you and harass you, and I knew that. I was very well prepared by the district attorney, and all that means is he simply said, tell your story, tell the truth. That was the preparation.
And Heidi, we obviously want to hear more from you, and we're going to be following the Cosby verdict or how long he's going to prison. We do know that he is getting prison time, but we don't know for how long. And we'll tell you as soon as that news comes down, and a lot more of Daily Blast Live is coming up. We'll be right back.
So again, to our viewers who may just be tuning in, we are here with Heidi Thomas. Heidi Thomas was the first of the 6 accusers to take the stand during the Cosby trial. You just learned he's getting 3 to 10 years in prison. How do you feel?
I'm blown away. 3 years ago, I never would have believed this day would happen. I was thinking if we got him into a courtroom, it was going to be a major, major step. Then the guilty verdict was a second major step. And I guess I couldn't let myself believe that the justice system would indeed get this man into prison. It's a huge moment because there are so many more to come. This had to happen, but I don't think I allowed myself to believe it.
Heidi, can you quickly speak to people who might be out there right now too scared to say me too?
Oh, absolutely.
And the importance of it doesn't matter how much time has gone by.
No. I have been asked over and over again, how did you feel in the courtroom? And I can honestly say that was the most empowering moment, to be able to look at that person and say, you didn't win, you didn't destroy me, because it's not a sex crime. It's a crime of power and control. And you didn't even get control over me. What is tragic, and I do want to make this point, is that this man was brilliant, and his career was brilliant, and his humor was brilliant, and he had such a legacy he could have left, and he destroyed it. And I know that there are those who will say, no, 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 all the women who came forward and accused him. No, he destroyed his legacy. That is tragic.
I just want to underscore a point to piggyback off of what Erica just said. The fact that it took you 30 years to feel somewhat comfortable enough to come forward, and you did it because other women had come forward. Right. I just want you to speak to why some people feel like they can't come forward.
If you talk to the experts, it's part of a victim mentality for a very long time, and obviously it's different for every single person. And I say person because I cannot tell you how many men have confidentially reached out to those of us who went public, and they have yet to tell a soul other than us. It's horrendous. It is different for every person, but for the longest time, you honestly do feel that you somehow brought this on, that you are responsible. Why would you come forward with that kind of an admission? That's part of a victim mentality, and I do hope that one of the consequences of all of this is that there will be more education on what happens when this kind of a crime is committed. What happens to the victim? What happens in the perpetrator's mind? That's really going to be something we need to examine. But the coming forward happens when you realize they no longer have control over you. They did, and it was horrible. And now you're taking that control back. I cannot tell you how empowering that is. Scary, yes. Not fun. But you will be so proud of yourself, and you will regain your sense of self.
Thank you so much, Heidi. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Oh,
more coverage of this. We'll be right back.